So, today we're playing Juno First. It's a Konami game. I don't think I've ever played this game before. It's an arcade game. Oh yeah, I have, just to check it out. This is a weird one. But as you can see, you got, like, weird lines. There's an illusion of distance and an illusion of a scrolling field. And apparently it's a game that I'm not very good at. So I guess we can talk about my I don't know, my last couple of episodes, Snake Rattle and Roll, while we play this, because basically what you're seeing is all there is. Like, the game never changes. This is everything that there is to it, as far as I can see. I guess every so often you beat a level. Another game with 99 time. Alright, so in the Snake episode, I was kind of, acting drunk, and yes, I was acting. I don't drink, believe it or not. It's just, being drunk is the easiest thing in the world to act as. And Snake, this seems to be my most controversial choice yet, saying no to Snake. I get it. There's a simplicity argument about how it's like Pong in that way, that it's iconic. Snake is just boring. Like, even ignoring the version that I play, like, with the walls that kill you, different power-ups or time or whatever, it's just boring. It is the most, it's even more simple than Pong, I think. But it tends to be slow. It never really ramps up, even as you get bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, I'm not even going to compare it to the games that did make it in the book, because there's really no contest there. The other one's Snake, Rattle, and Roll. It's another game that people really seem to like. But, like, with Snake, I can kind of understand it. It's not a bad game, and I guess most people probably have played it, or at least programmed it, even. At least programmed it, yeah. You might not have played Snake, but at least you programmed it. But Snake, there is fun to be had with Snake if you're a certain kind of person. I just don't think it qualifies as a must-play. Like I've said in the Minesweeper episode, just because everyone has played it doesn't mean everyone should play it. And I don't think my life is any better with Snake. And if you want to compare it to Minesweeper, I've kind of been addicted to Minesweeper ever since the episode. And somebody is having fireworks. Because I can't record a game in silence ever. Ever. If it's not somebody doing yard work... Oh, enter my initials. If it's not somebody doing yard work earlier in the day, it's this. Now, Snake, Rattle, and Roll... I really don't know why people like that game. I mean, like, I stand by it. In the NES era, Rare was... I have no idea how they made, like, such an epic turnaround between the NES and the Super Nintendo. I mean, for emphasis, they are the people who made Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Yeah, an LJN published game, but they're the ones who designed Who Framed Roger Rabbit on the NES. They also did Battletoads, which is too difficult for its own good, let's say. But speaking specifically of Snake, Rattle, and Roll, I will give it credit. It is mostly unique. I mean, Marble Madness does kind of come close as an isometric 3D platformer, isometric platformer of that era. And yeah, I will admit that sometimes I don't have much patience when it comes to figuring things out in games. I really don't. So I could have tried a little bit harder to understand how the game works. But I stand by it. Like, I do feel confident with Snake, Rattle, and Roll being a no. Like, I said it myself. Like, it's not just because of slippery controls, or something like that, or indecisive power-ups. It's because of terrible level design, for one, and a game mechanic that's not at all engaging. You have to basically grind and then get to the end of the level without essentially getting hit. Backtracking and whatever. At this point, you're probably wondering if I'm, like, specifically picking no's or whatever. I don't really know. Like, honestly, it really shouldn't matter if I am or if I'm not. Because the book, to be of quality, should not have this many no's. Like, it should be selling exactly what it's advertised as. I mean, I made a list earlier today of 100 games that I think are must-plays that didn't make it in the book. Meanwhile, we have games like this that I couldn't tell you why in the world I would want to play ever again. And honestly, for me, like, going after obvious no's or whatever, games that I know would be no's. Like I said, I played this game maybe once before. Maybe. It works out worse for me in the long run because I don't have the stamina to be dealing with shit on top of shit on top of shit. Every so often, I need a palate cleanser, and in the next few episodes, I'll probably be going for plenty of the obvious yeses. Like I said before, the problem is that so many of them are so long to play through. Like, I wanted to play Banjo-Kazooie as a contrast to Snake, Rattle, and Roll, because that's a good rare design platforming game. But Banjo-Kazooie is, well, like 6 to 8 hours long. I mean, what this game does, Juno First here, I have no idea why the fuck it's called Juno First, is definitely technically impressive. Having enemies being able to hide in the background, giving it the illusion of distance, and it is an illusion here. It is quite interesting. It looks unlike any other game, but I'm not having, like, I mean, I got a better experience out of Galaga, you know? Why do I obsess over this book? I don't know. It's how the brain works. You know, Asperger's syndrome is considered like a disorder for a reason. There are downsides that I will never be able to get over. I will always obsess over things that are, in the grand scheme of things, not important. And this is one of them. if maybe I can get some closure and actually play through all of the goddamn games, then maybe I will get... maybe I will be able to finally move on with my life. I don't know. Bullets are a little bit hard to notice, but then again, I'm not really paying too much attention. Also, I do not like the colors they chose for this. Like, it just looks, well, ignoring the fact that it was puke green or football tennis green or whatever. I don't know, the baby blue and magenta, it looks like a DOS game that's not working properly. The red does not have a good contrast here. Like, the scrolling thing, whatever, like... I mean, it doesn't really matter if there's, like, nothing to pass by or whatever. Like, yes, I have an environment to scroll through, there's just nothing in it. So, yeah, like... I mean, if you like Snake, all the power to you. I just really do not consider it a must-play. And same with Snake, Rattle, and Roll. And, I definitely... With that one, I definitely don't regret bailing out. Like, I've looked up what the levels after are. There are 11 of them. I got to, like, level 5 or some shit. The other levels get more, well, dickish, like hardcore asshole design. Yeah. But yeah, the book... I don't know, it's just... Like, at this point, it's probably sunk cost fallacy. I've spent so much of my time just trying to get through this shit. Trying to find the answers. But, they don't come. Yeah. Or when I do get them, they're not good. It's like, Juno first here. Like, it's clear that after I'm done playing, I am probably never going to play this game again. Like, like, if I want to play a game like this, I'll go with Defender. That looked better, and to be honest, it kind of played better. It was fun. I can't see this being anyone's favorite arcade game of all time. I mean, it's not bad, it's just mediocre. And that's what the book does a lot, it seems. It puts whatever, like, the first game to do X, Y, or Z in as a must-play. Like, Mud 1, it was the first multi-user dungeon, which is the first MMO. That makes it a must-play. No! Galaga, it was the first... No, Galaxian, it was the first game to use RGB graphics. You gotta see... No! Kill Switch, it was the first third-person shooter to have a cover No! No, the first doesn't mean jack shit. Just because Jumping Flash was the first 3D platformer does not mean that it's worth playing today. That's one that they actually didn't include, interestingly enough. Like, it's 1001 games you must play. Like, Ye Are Kung Fu is one of the first fighting... I don't care. A must-play is not one of the first games to do something, it is one of the best games to do something. Plain and simple. Like, Super Mario Brothers is not a must-play because it's the first 2D platformer, which it's not. It's not the best, one of the best games because it's the first in the Mario series. It's a must-play because it's really fun and the design is incredibly intricate and we can still study and learn things from it today. Because it is just elegance and design. I mean, Defender, yes, I said that it was one of the very first games to have 6-button controls. But that's not why I think it's a must-play. I think it's a must-play because it's unique and it's fun in its own right. There aren't many games like it. You know, ignoring Stargate, which is way too much like it. But even a game that does this scrolling shit, or the first game to do this, does not make it a must-play in any volition at all. Like, I'm probably, like, one of these days I'm just gonna go through the book and look at every single page that says, this was the first game to do blah, 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 and just tear it out. Because, like, that's almost an admission that it is not a must-play. Lunar Lander was the first game to use vector graphics, which is great, but the Lunar Lander sucks. It is fucking awful. Not just awful, it is fucking awful. I hate Lunar Lander. I mean, another game in the book is Xevious, the first shooter with the scrolling background. This isn't really a scrolling background, I guess, but yeah. Just scrolls forever. It is one of the most mediocre shooters you will ever play, but yes, it was a thing at one point that didn't exist, and this is the first game that did the thing. And it was an important stepping stone to where we are now. And where we are now is such a good place that we don't ever have to go back. The first Dragon Quest was one of the very first JRPGs, but there's no way in history, there's no fucking way that most people would want to play that game. The first Dragon Quest is a game where the game mechanic is literally grinding. That is Dragon Quest. The game was intentionally designed to be as tedious as possible because the developer wanted to make sure winning felt like you were accomplishing something. But talking about grinding is something we're going to have to do in another time, in another place. Yeah, on the same, like, I mean, like, there's definitely some logic to sometimes including the first to do whatever if it still holds up as the first to do it, I guess. But that is so rarely the case in the video game industry. Like, it is so rare that the first time something is done is the best time that it's done. The only time I can think is, like, with Tetris. Tetris is still the best blocks falling down game. And you know what? That's not a good thing. That is not a good thing at all. Yeah, when the thing turns green and looks like a fucking football field, you have to catch the snowman. But yeah, their inclusion of a game like the first Dragon Quest is kind of, you know, understandable because it was the first game to do whatever. Something you could easily just look up through Google. But like, it becomes annoying when they include Dragon Quest 1 over Dragon Quest 3. And Dragon Quest 3 is what some people say is one of the best games in the franchise to this day. They did the same shit with Ultima, choosing Ultima 1 because it was the first game to do blah da blah da blah da, instead of Ultima 4, which is the best game to do blah da blah da blah da. And you know what the funny thing is? I have learned more about video games and video game history from people complaining about the book than from the book itself. Like, one of their entries is King of Fighters 94. Because their selection was so stupid, I know that the must-play is King of Fighters 98. Because that is one of the obvious things that people keep pointing out. Even though I have never heard of the King of Fighters series before this book. Like, it's really interesting. It really, really is interesting. Catch the snowman, and I don't think you can ever get extra lives in this game anyway, so I don't know why I'm still playing it. It's an obvious no. It's hard for me to make a case for it because there's really not much to say. It's just mediocre. I guess I'll say, yes, book, it's the first game to do something. Now, put that aside, why should I play it? Why should I play it today? How does this line up with all of the other scrolling shooters that have ever existed? Why should I? How does this line up with Ikaruga, any of the Toho games? I don't know too many scrolling shooters, but tell me, just. I mean, I'm gonna give every single one of these games a chance. Like, there are going to be some surprises in the book, I'm sure. But, like, I mean, was this game popular when it came out? Maybe? You know what other game was popular when it came out? Pokemon Go was popular when it came out. Maybe it has some must-play too, because at one point in time, people liked it. We're not checking in time to see if it remained relevant or interesting, or whatever. I mean, yes, book, Phoenix was the very first video game to include a boss fight. Now tell me why I should play against that boss fight. I don't feel like I'm witnessing video game history as we go on. I feel like I'm being taken through a tour of mediocrity. I don't know. The book came out in England. Maybe must play is one of those terms that has a different meaning over there. You know, like how pavement means a different thing over there. Here, here it's what the sidewalk is paved with. In England, it is the sidewalk. Maybe in American, must play means games that you should really check out because they can make your life better, make your life more interesting. Maybe in England, must play means mediocre shit. I don't know. I really don't know. Like, when I did the Galaga episode and went through all of the fucking clones, people said that it seems like one of those plug-and-play collections. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it does. I mean, I guess the games are higher quality than your typical plug-and-play shit. But there's definitely a paradox here. Like, most casual people don't know about a game like Gorf. Like, you need to have some sort of industry know-how to know what Gorf or Phoenix or whatever is. However, if you have any sort of know-how, why would you be neglecting games like Crash Bandicoot? I use this example a lot, Crash Bandicoot, because it's like the most obvious example of they don't give a shit. Like, even if you don't like Crash Bandicoot, it's hard to argue that that's not a must-play. I mean, maybe you don't like the first one because it didn't have analog controls and you can't stand playing a platformer with the D-pad. Very well, Crash Bandicoot 2 and 3 both allow you to use the analog. I definitely think this is the major failure of what the book has done. Like, the logic that they went behind. They chose, instead of must-play games, greatest games of all time, games that would enrich your life, basically. And yes, games can do that in some way, shape, or form, even just by being pure fun. And instead of that, they went with the first game to do this, the first game to do that, and that was their logic of what a must-play is. But, no. I don't know what else there is to say on this one. I mean, maybe I just need to try a different genre, one that I haven't tried yet, like maybe a racing game, I don't know. Something fresh, because this is the, what, space shooter I've done. I mean, like, they're honestly all really starting to blur together. Even when you ignore the fact that, like, all of them resemble Galaga. But, this is, N? O? T. Not a good, well, it's a whatever game. It's definitely not a must-play. I am definitely tempted to just do a marathon of, like, really, really great ones, but I don't know. They take forever. I'm done with this one.